especially happy you left entrepreneur off of the list of whatever I am. Bless you, that's great. So I'm Ani. I'm so happy to be here with you and present this award to our final awardee. I'm a little too young to tell you firsthand what it felt like when Judy's voice hit the scene. You know, I was just born. When she showed up with her heart and her vision and her stance. But I can just tell you what she means to me. I was very happy to show up yesterday to a panel that Cheryl hosted, and it featured Judy and Dorothy Allison and Blanche McCrary Boyd. And there was a question posed towards the end that I found very interesting, and I'll share it with those of you who weren't there. Somebody asked, on this 50th anniversary of Stonewall, many people are sort of saying this was the beginning of the queer liberation movement, that was the spark. How do you feel about that, you three who were shoveling coal and igniting things and sparking so much yourselves? And I thought it very telling that all three women very quickly and very graciously said, it's cool, you know. And Judy followed it up, the answer, with a characteristically wise addition of saying, I think all people feel that the movement began with them. You know, the world starts and ends with me, right? That's the human experience. So I can tell you that the feminist revolution and the queer liberation movement started in 1989. I was 19. I was in New York, and I passed by this place called the New School for Social Research, and I thought that sounded really interesting, so I went in, and I started taking some classes. I signed up for Feminism 101, creative writing, it's the little template of my life, and gay and lesbian literature, my first semester. And I believe it was in the gay and lesbian literature class that somebody handed me a printout of A Woman Is Talking to Death. Sorry, I am hormonal. And am I right, girls? Okay. And I read this printout and I thought, well, that's the best fucking poem ever written. Does anybody know that? Is it me? And so I went and I bought the book that poem was in at the time, and I bought another book of Judy's, and I bought another book of Judy's. And I can tell you, I'm sure it goes without saying that Judy Grahn has received many awards and much recognition for her work, that she's been read all over the world, that she continues to produce relevant work. She just released a memoir. She teaches at who knows where. But for me, I can just tell you that having my world affirmed so beautifully, totally, in not just that poem, but all of the work of hers that I followed up and educated myself with, it unlocked my own voice. It did a lot to unlock my own voice. And so I can tell you from my heart and my soul why she is being honored today with this award. and I am so honored to present it to her, Judy Grahn.
Yes, that's reminding me. I've been thinking, because and it's just so marvelous that what you all are doing, what you've been doing for such a long time, of knitting things together, of how things knit together, and of how art knits ideas and hope and movement and political activism together, and it does it consciously, and then it does it unconsciously with little fairy people. Then at some point, what happens in a life, you do a lot of things. I did a lot of things starting in 1965 or so that were activists, that were literary, that were trying to turn things over this way, that way, and the other way. And it went on for a long time, and then in my 50s and the 90s, it sort of fell apart. My life took another turn. I couldn't find anything anywhere. My stuff was going out of print. I thought, well, isn't that strange? It seemed so vital, and now it's disappearing. And then I started listening to the music of someone whose music I hadn't known, and I realized, oh, wait a minute, it's there, it's in this music. And it was Ani DiFranco's music, that it was so much in the activism, the passion, the power, the woman-centeredness, and so on. And that reminds me of another story. When I was a teenager, I brought stacks of books home from the library, especially books of stories and plays. So of course I read Tennessee Williams' plays and absorbed them, like so many people in the world. I devoured them, my breath taken away by all those Southern writers, but especially Williams. I can see in retrospect that how I received him didn't have anything to do with gay. That was over my head. I was 14, 15. It was 1954, 55. But the way he presented women, I'm thinking of him as an early feminist voice, as an early feminist resource and progenitor, because he was repeatedly telling us that women were central, were powerful, and lots of trouble. Internally, socially, and in the family. So his stories were of people trapped in alcohol, mental illness, betrayal, fragility. And I'm realizing that in 1989, when I was 49 years old, or maybe it was 48, 47, I wrote a play, and it was completely unconscious that in my play, there's Helen of Troy, who is a reincarnation, and she's in a lesbian bar going through bunches of transformation. I called it the Crowbar. It's full of Amazon warriors or crow dykes, and they're just putting her through hell to get her through transformation. And she has this repeated line, I live in a glass house with glass horses. And in the course of the play, one of those horses falls and shatters. And that's this, right out of the glass menagerie. And the Amazon chorus responds to her, and it's as if this feminist line that the Amazons were doing, Helen, where are your horses? Do you ride them like horses? And it was the Amazon saying, we ride them like forces, and going into a whole very forceful chorus about the power of women together in solidarity. When we tangle fingers with each other and we bond and are going all in the same direction, the power that's there. It's as though it's answering his play, his character Laura in the Glass Menagerie, as though these little fairy people in the unconscious are in dialogue with each other across the literature. And so everything that we all do that engages us with younger writers and then yet more younger writers and so on, and people engaging with Ani's work and then the next generation and so on, is all tangled together as though all of our books and works and arts are characters in themselves, in dialogue with themselves, long after we have even forgotten where we got anything, how we did it, why we did it, what was that, who knows, but it just keeps right on dancing. I thank you. I'm very, very honored to be inducted into this Hall of Fame. Bless you all.